Still good morning. And still good morning, Alfred, from California, sunny California, no doubt. So good afternoon, everybody, and good morning. Thank you for making it out today to attend the workshop on how to build new clubs. Building new clubs allows us to spread the benefits that we have experienced as Toastmasters to others in our community so that they too can benefit. One of the common remarks that I often hear from Toastmasters is, I wish that I'd known about Toastmasters and joined as a member earlier. Well, building new clubs allows us to reach out to our community so that they can benefit from Toastmasters earlier, we hope. An added benefit is a net growth of club in the area can also help us to make our area's president distinguished, which translates to making our district in our division successful as well. So there is a domino effect. It is important in achieving our district goals to be, and this is important to achieve our district goal to be Smedley distinguished. We can do this together. We can do this. And then with us, I'll relinquish my control to Anita for the introduction. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Angela. Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning, Alfred. I'm Anita. I'm your district director, and first and foremost, I would like to thank our area directors and division directors who have found time, who made time today to join this very important workshop. And I'm going to now introduce you to your facilitator today, Alfred Herzing. Our speaker today was born in Kitchener, Ontario. When he was a child, his family moved to California because his father was a refrigeration mechanic and thought there would be more opportunity there. A Toastmaster since last century, Alfred led District 52 in downtown Los Angeles and the San Fernando Valley to distinguished status. But he's more proud of the fact that this was the first of 4 years in a row that the district was distinguished. He served 7 years on the board of directors of Toastmasters International. The highlight of this time was when Alfred served all Toastmasters worldwide as our international president. He remains active as a member in 4 and is currently an officer in 3 of them. He is also active as a mentor for top 3 officers around the world. Alfred is an experienced club builder. He builds clubs in 1 launch meeting. He even launched 2 clubs, one each in 2 different cities on a business trip to India, where he was a 1-person launch team. Today, Alfred will share his secrets about how to launch a club in 1 meeting. Please join me in welcoming distinguished Toastmaster, past international president, Alfred Herzing. Alfred, the virtual floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam District Director. Good afternoon, District 60. Yay! I am so excited to be here with you, and I thank you for taking time out of your weekend to spend the time to be with me today live. For those of you that are watching the recording, I'm equally grateful that you're taking time out of your schedule to watch this, because this is so important for district leaders. If you follow what I present today, and if you get it, this is going to be the key to your success. You will understand what you need to do and how to do it in order to be successful. And after all, we're all in this to be successful, right? We just had the Olympics. Everybody wants to aim for the gold. Nobody just says, oh, let's get the bronze. No, we're going for the gold. We may not get the gold, but we're going for the gold. And so that's the approach and the attitude we need to have. And the key is building new clubs. And I'm going to explain why. I want this to be an interactive session, so I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I want you to please unmute and answer those. Angela is monitoring the chat. If you have questions that you want to submit that way, please feel free to do so. She will interrupt me. I want that. And I promise this is going to be fun. This is going to be interactive, and it's going to be so important because, like I said, if you get this, you're going to have the foundation to know what to do to be successful. All right, so let's get started. We're going to talk about the mission and goals for the district. We're going to talk about area directors. By the way, do we have anybody in the audience? Unmute if you're not currently a district leader, but you're just a Toastmaster that's very interested in building new clubs. I'd like to know how many of you are out there in this group. None.
It's just me.
Oh, we have two. So Joanne and also author put up their
Okay.
hands.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Well, thank you for being here. I promise this is going to be relevant for you as well. We are going to start talking about the district, and you're part of the district, so it's helpful to understand how this all fits in. So we're going to talk about missions and goals. We're going to talk about the focus for area directors, and then we are actually going to go through the steps to building a club. So by the time this is going to be complete, not that you're going to be an all-out expert, but believe me, you're going to have the foundation. You're going to know what it takes to build a new club. All right, let me just quickly go through this. Let's first ask a key question. Why are you even here? I mean, it's a Sunday afternoon. There's no snow. You're not stuck inside. You could be outside. You could be spending time with your family, but here you are with us. And why? Well, I think the mission of Toastmasters International gives us a great reason. We empower individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders. I love that mission, and I fully endorse it and buy into it. And to me, that gives me a powerful why. I'm going to talk a lot today about why, because if we don't understand the why, the how doesn't matter, right? Wouldn't you agree? Again. Hey, unmute. This is interactive. All right.
Yes, yes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
yes, yes.
Thank you. So the mission of the district, those of you that are not district leaders, you may not have seen this, but those of you that are in district leadership, hopefully this is not news to you. Our mission is we build new
Build new
clubs and
clubs,
support
yes.
all clubs in achieving excellence. Now in Toastmasters, in my opinion, there's one word that defines excellence. What is that word?
Achieving.
Sorry?
Achieving.
Achieving. Okay. Well, it's achieving excellence. So it's not achieving. What is a word that defines excellence? What is it?
Practice.
It's distinguished, guys. Wouldn't you agree? Distinguished. If you have a distinguished club, you know you have a successful club. Now, that doesn't mean that clubs do not achieve distinguished, we should disband them and have all the members join other clubs. No. I'm not saying that in any way. But when a club is not distinguished, they really have not achieved excellence in one way or another. They have not quite hit the mark. Would you all agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So there's two halves of the mission of the district. We build new clubs and we support all clubs in achieving excellence. Let me ask you a question, and I want you guys to be impressed here. I have Canadian money here. I have 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 Canadian dollars. If you can, I got to get that in front of me so it doesn't disappear. It is not funny money, although the Americans wonder if it's monopoly money. It's not funny money. It is plastic. You can run it through the washer and it doesn't disintegrate. How do I know that? Don't ask. Okay. Anyway, is speech contest in the mission of the district?
Yes.
Yes, really? Tell me more about that.
We're supposed to run an area contest and a district contest, so that way individuals can test their speaking skills and eventually go on to a world competition.
Okay, well, this is a good opportunity for me to clarify. So if you have a speech contest, and let's say a member of a club wins that contest, does that help that club be distinguished?
Not as a point, it doesn't, no.
No. Does it, if a district has a member that wins the world championship of public speaking, does that make the district distinguished?
No.
No.
No, it is not a critical success factor, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. It is not in the mission of the district. We're supporting all clubs in achieving excellence. Have you have a speech contest? Is that going to build a new club?
No.
No. So it
No.
doesn't handle the first part, and it doesn't make your clubs distinguished. So it doesn't handle the second part. Speech contests are not in the mission of the district. Okay. And I'm so happy that I had the chance to explain this. Would it be okay with you if I shared my story when I was what now would be called an area director? Would that be okay?
Yes, please.
When I was an area director and we had district executive committee meetings, DEC meetings, all the district talked about was speech contests. So I thought, okay, this is our number one focus. This is what we need to be working on. So when I had my area council meetings, all we met about was planning our speech contest. Now, back then we had a fall contest and a spring contest. And so we planned an amazing fall contest. We made $400 profit from our opportunity drawing contest. I had the clubs competing for ticket sales. We had 60 people in attendance, and by all measures, it was a successful event. And then my area council, we didn't meet till it was time to plan the spring contest, because after all, this is what the district was focused on. And again, we had an amazing event. And at the end of the year, the district was not distinguished. The district was not distinguished. In fact, the district had not been distinguished the previous 3 years before I became district governor. But the light bulb came on. I went, wait a minute. We spent all this time, energy, and focus on contests when it didn't even matter. We had a great contest, but it didn't make the district distinguished. And that's when the light bulb came on. We need to change our focus. Is this making sense, guys?
It does.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to ask you guys a trick question, okay? And I know many of you are very tuned into the TI dashboard, and it's too early for this year. So let's talk about last year's numbers. Without going to the website and checking the dashboard, roughly how many new members joined whatever's appropriate for your current position, your area, your division, or the district last Toastmasters year? Can you tell me? Again, this is a trick question. I'm letting you know up front. And I know Angela and Anita and Andrew, they've gone through this exercise with me, so you guys can't cheat and answer. Any ideas?
Come on, someone, please say something.
Elton, come on, what do you
It's fun,
think?
But we lost people as well, so.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm just talking about joined, just how many joined your area, your division, or your district?
Just a number, just guess. It's a game.
Elton,
fun.
come on.
100.
Okay.
I'm going to
What
take a
about
guess in my area last year. And we had 5 new members join Transit. We're a small club. We also have some big clubs. So extrapolating from that, Egg Young, I'd say 15, that gives us, 10, that gives us 15. Pure
Okay.
Talk, probably add another couple, 17. I'd say around 20 in area 41.
20, okay. Lisa, how many? Letitia, give me a number.
I would say 25.
25. All right, good, good, good. I said this was a trick question. The answer is 0. And I forget who was going through the clubs, but they were on the right track. Those people did not join the area. They did not join the division. They did not join the district. What did they join?
The club.
They joined a club, right? So
Mhm.
stay with me on this. This is important that you get this point, all right? if we look at the process or process for you Canadians, the process, which I actually agree, it's an O, not an A, of a member, a guest becoming a member, the guest first has to find out there's going to be a meeting. These days, most clubs are still meeting online, so they have to get the link. They have to attend a meeting and see a meeting that has a high quality, something they say, hey, I'd like to be a part of this. Somebody in the club has to ask that key question. Would you like to join? And send them an application, help them fill it out, collect the dues. They're voted in by the club. Hopefully all of you are voting your new members into your clubs, and the application gets sent off to world headquarters after the dues are collected. Wouldn't you agree that's pretty much the process?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Now, unless a district leader is a member of that club, what percentage influence did the district have in that entire process?
0.
Anybody else? I don't like to say 0 because the district might have done a workshop, Andrew, on moments of truth and encouraging quality meetings. The district might have trained the club leaders so that the VP membership would have learned that you're supposed to ask the guest to join, but you're on the right track. It's minimal, right? The truth of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, it's the club, not the district. Members join clubs and members leave clubs. So the same thing applies to retention. And that's why Angela's title is Club Growth Director. She's not Member Retention Director. She's not Club Retention Director, because once the club is chartered, it's the club's responsibility, right? It's the club's responsibility to attract and retain members. Now, we're there to support it. That's the second half of the mission, but we can't make them do it, right? The same applies to membership retention. So if you look at the mission of the district, we build new clubs. I'm very proud of the board that when they rewrote this mission a few years ago, they really nailed it. They put first things first. The headline is always the biggest story, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we build new clubs as first because it is more important for the district. Okay. That is the primary focus for the district. We build new clubs, and then we support all clubs in achieving excellence. We don't turn our back on the clubs. We're there to support them and help them. But at the end, we can't do it for them. And in my opinion, the biggest mistake area directors make when they think it's their job to make their clubs distinguished. No, whose job is it to make the clubs distinguished? The club. Thank you. So for some of you, especially if you've been in a while, this might be twisting your mind a little bit because it's a different way of looking at things. And it might take a day or two or week or what more to really let this sink and understand it. But if you get this, it's going to really be the key to your success. Okay, there's only one thing that the district can directly control. What do you think that is? We can't make the clubs distinguished. We've already established that, right? What's the one thing the district can do?
Build new clubs.
Build new clubs, exactly. And that's why we're having this workshop, and that's why it's the #1 focus for the district. Now, when we talk about goal setting, I like to share the story of the barbed wire. A few years ago, I was on the Central California coast renting an ATV to ride in the sand dunes in Pismo Beach. And as I was signing all the legal disclaimers, signing away all my rights, the guy running the booth said, "Do you mind if I give you a piece of advice?" I said, "Sure, of course, absolutely." He said, "Don't ride too close to the barbed wire." I went, "Well, of course, that makes sense." He goes, "No, no, no. Every year we have people that think they're far enough away from the barbed wire, but they hit a rut, and at the speed they're going, they get thrown into the barbed wire." Well, how does this relate to the discussion we're having about goals? It relates to not being too close to the barbed wire. Distinguished is the minimum standard of success in Toastmasters. And Murphy is very active in Toastmasters. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And when you set a goal to only be distinguished, there's a good chance something will go wrong and you fail to hit the mark. So that's why we always want to aim for the higher goals. If you aim for President's Distinguished Club and you let Anita know, this is my goal for the year, and you only make select distinguished, I promise you, Anita will not send a nasty note to your president saying, how come you said you were going to be presidents and you only made select? No, you were a distinguished or better. You were successful. She's going to be happy for you. The whole district team will be happy for you. So in Toastmasters, we should always set high goals. Why? Because for one thing, there's no penalty in not making it. But when we aim higher, we're going to achieve higher, and then we ensure we're crossing the minimum standard of distinguished. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering, Angela. Again, I want this to be interactive, guys. All right, so area directors, you want to make sure you're a President's Distinguished area, and the requirements are 50% of your club base is distinguished or better, plus an additional distinguished club, and you have to have a net club growth of 1 new club. Now, guys, I'm a little confused. What's that net mean? Are we going fishing? What does net club growth mean of 1?
It means that if you start out with a certain number, say you start out with 4, you have 5. If during the year you start out with 4, but you lost 1, you still have to get the 5.
Right. You have to build 2. Louise, that was perfect. A perfect response. Thank you so much. I appreciate you answering. Right. If you lose 1, now you have to build 2. All right. And it is doable. So how many areas, how do we make Smedley distinguished? You heard it already announced, and I'm so happy your team already mentioned this morning, that the goal for the district, you should hear this all the time, very consistent from your leadership. Our goal is Smedley distinguished. And the goal is Smedley. And how are we going to do this? This is not a pie in the sky, crazy, hypothetical, crazy goal. It is achievable and doable. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to build 1 new club per area, 1 new club per area. And with 27 areas, that means it's 27 new clubs. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah. Yes.
Good. Now, Angela, let me ask you a key question, and you're going to answer this on behalf of the entire district team. All right. No pressure. Do you think it's possible that we could charter 1 new club in every area of District 60 this Toastmasters year?
Yes, we can do that.
I absolutely agree with you. I believe you can do it. If I didn't believe it, ladies and gentlemen, I would not be wasting my Sunday when I could be with my wife off to exploring Southern California. Instead, I'm here with you. Why? Because I believe you can do it. I believe this is a worthwhile investment of my time. So we're going to build 27 new clubs, 1 new club per area, and we're going to support our existing clubs to be distinguished. Again, with support there, we can't do it for them. We can mentor them, we can advise them, but at the end of the day, the club needs to do it, right?
Yes.
All right. So based on the August dashboard numbers, and they may not be final, there might be some final revisions, but basically these are the numbers we're looking at. District 60 has a base of 122 clubs, right, Anita? Right, Angela?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So according to TI, the goal for Smedley is a mere addition of 10 clubs, but we're going to build 27 new clubs. And if we build 27 clubs, here's a quiz question, guys. How many clubs could we lose, which we can't control? We can't control clubs dying. We can help them, but we can't stop them if they don't want to continue to meet, right? How many clubs could we lose and still be the Smedley distinguished?
17.
17.
17.
17. Let that sink in a minute, okay? Because this is super key. We could build 27 new clubs and lose 17 clubs and still be Smedley distinguished. I hope this is really mind-blowing for you and really shows you the possibility. It's like, wow, that's amazing. And we are going to approach building 27 new clubs a lot differently than we would building 10, right? I don't know if any of you are runners, but I've heard many times that when runners run, they typically do two distances. They'll do a shorter workout and then they'll do a longer workout. And typically a short workout might be like a 7K, and then a longer workout might be a 15 or 20K workout when they run. Well, when they're doing their 7K workout, they put all their energy and focus into that 7K. And by the time they finish that 7K, they're exhausted. They're done. They are done. They've put all their energy and focus into it, and they're exhausted and glad that that 7K is done. But when they're running the 20K workout, how do you think they're doing at 7K?
Easy.
They blow right past it. Exactly. It's easy. They blow right past 7K because their focus is higher. Their focus is longer. And so that's why it's a different mental approach. Does this make sense, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So again, the mission of the district is we build new clubs and support all clubs in achieving excellence. Those two halves are not equal. The number one focus for the district is we build new clubs. Why? Because it's the only thing we can directly control. Now, you guys have limited time to give as volunteers and Toastmasters. Wouldn't it make sense as leaders? We want to give our time and energy and focus primarily on the things that we can directly control and less time on the things that we're only influencing. Wouldn't that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You've heard the phrase work smart, not hard, right? So this is an opportunity for you to do that. Letitia, do you have a question?
Yes, Alfred, I have a question. This is new to me, and as area director, I want to know, like, from 100% of my time that I'm dedicating to my role as area director, what percentage should I focus as working with clubs, and what percentage of my time should I focus on a new club?
That is a great question. And what we want you to do is 80% of your time focused on building new clubs and only 20% supporting your existing clubs. It's an 80-20 proposition. Now, I can say that hypothetically. I know in reality that rarely happens. But let me tell you this, Letitia, and I'm going to be very straight with you. Our number one focus is building a new club. And if you get that new club chartered by September 30th, we're going to get triple payments from that club, because we're going to get the charter payment, we're going to get the October dues, and we're going to get the April dues, right? So if you were to charter your club by September 30th, you could spend the rest of your year, the remaining 9 months, supporting those existing clubs to help them achieve that, because you've already completed your primary job. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much for clarifying that.
Yeah.
And I have another question, and this might be too early, but maybe we're going to see this later, but I want to know what are the challenges that we usually encounter when we're trying to build a new club.
Okay, well, we're going to go through the steps, so we'll discuss a lot of the background there. So you're as they say in the television ads, your actual mileage may vary, your challenges may vary, but we'll address a lot of the key points that would help overcome objections that you might raise. Good point, Letitia. And at the end, please feel free to ask additional questions, or as we're going through the particular section and you're thinking, hey, I might have a problem with this particular point, bring it up and I'll be happy to answer that, because I do have a lot of experience in building clubs. And so I have had a lot of personal experience in how I've overcome it. And of course, there's other people here that have also built new clubs. So I don't want this just to be the Alfred show. Other people can pop in as well. Great, great. I love it, Letitia. Thank you for being interactive. One more thing, go ahead.
Are you going to share the slides with us, so I don't bother to take notes and focus more on?
I have distributed this to your team, and they will be giving you the slides. So yes, that's a good point. Everybody that's here, you're going to have the slides available, so you don't have to write all this down. There's going to be a lot of material here, and so absolutely great point. So let's ask a very basic question. Even though we've said building new clubs is the #1 focus for the district because it's the only thing we can directly control, and hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Let's ask just a bigger, broader question. Why should we build new clubs?
We get access to more speakers, different ideas. Clubs tend to fail. There's lots of reasons, but those are
Right. Exactly. I mean, have you heard the phrase, if you're not building, you're dying? As you know, District 60 just split off some clubs to form District 123. And if District 60 does not continue to grow, if they shrink, there could be a point where the board could decide to recombine, and it might be a different combination. So the future of the district is a part of this. Just like clubs, each club should be bringing in, on average, 1 new member per month because members leave. And it's not because they don't like the Toastmasters program. Typically, they love Toastmasters. They've just had a change in priority, right? So members leave clubs, and so clubs need to continually be bringing in new members. The district must also be building new clubs to replace the clubs that naturally die. But on a bigger perspective, let me tell you why we need to build new clubs. And I'm going to tell you my story as it relates to this key point. I am so grateful to Beverly Andrews. Beverly Andrews is a past district governor of District 52 that chartered 2 Toastmaster clubs at the company that I eventually would come to work for, and that gave me the opportunity to join the club. When I joined Toastmasters, I was a young person. I was in my 20s. So if you look at all my gray hair, you can see I've been around a while. But I wasn't looking for any extracurricular activities. I was just starting my career. But the club met at lunchtime at our office. And when a colleague invited to me, it was convenient. I went. Now, once I saw the program, I was immediately impressed with it and joined right away. But had I not had Beverly charter those clubs, and had they not been there at my work, I honestly don't know if I ever would have joined Toastmasters. And I'm so grateful because it completely changed my life. Since becoming a Toastmaster, I've had 5 promotions in my career. And at least 2 of those, I know it was the leadership skills I learned in Toastmasters that gave me those jobs. So when you're not a member, you don't know the benefits. And so if it's not convenient, you're not going to go. Knowing what I know now, I would drive 100 kilometers to attend a Toastmasters meeting. But when you don't know, you don't have that knowledge. You don't have that background. And so when you build a new club, you are giving new people the opportunity to have the growth that you have experienced in Toastmasters. And the fact that each of you, again, are here today, I know that you have gained value out of the Toastmasters program. And again, I thank you for your interest and support in building new clubs. Does that make sense? Is that a pretty good reason why?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I have some questions about building new clubs. Do you have a particular comment about public versus corporate?
No, their audiences are there, so any way you can get to them.
I just wondered about the focus on sustainability as well. We certainly saw a big change when the pandemic hit, and I just wondered.
Yeah, well, and that's a fair question, Louise. I was a member of a corporate club that I said that Beverly started, and eventually our world headquarters in downtown Los Angeles the building was sold, and all of us employees were dispersed to other locations, and the district lost 2 clubs when that happened, and the district can't do anything about that. But I will tell you this, Louise, during it was over 15 years that those clubs are in existence. I'm estimating about 500 people gained the benefits of Toastmasters by being participants, and you got an international president out of it. So not a bad deal. We can never know how long a corporate club is going to last. That's why corporate support is so important initially. And sometimes your sponsor is lost, and then the viability of that club can disappear, but we never know the future. The same thing could happen with community clubs. Community clubs, what's the key for a community club? It's the meeting location, right? We've had restaurants that have closed and gone out of business, and clubs have lost their meeting location. And it's very difficult for them to find new locations. And I'll just add this right now. I am a huge proponent of in-person meetings. I think that clubs that are only online are not providing the full, true Toastmasters experience. It's better than nothing, but it's not real Toastmasters, in my opinion. So wherever possible, I want to charter clubs that maybe now initially they're meeting only online, but it's with the intent that when possible, they'll be back in person. And I don't want to go into more detail about that, but online clubs to me have been, and all my fears have proven true during COVID. It was the right thing to go online during COVID, but the online clubs are not providing the growth for our members like they're getting in the in-person meetings. Does that answer your question, Louise?
Yeah, it's a good answer. Thank you.
Thank you for asking. I love the interaction. This is great. I don't want this to be a monologue. Alfred's just talking at you. I want this to be interactive. So here are the steps to charter a club. And we're going to go through each one of these in more detail. But it starts with the lead. If we don't have a lead, we don't have anything. We also need a sponsor and mentor. We're going to make an initial contact with that contact. And we're going to arrange a pre-meeting with that person. We're going to have that organization, whether it's a community or a corporation, do publicity. We're going to do a launch meeting, and then we're going to fill out the paperwork. And Angela, do we have experts in the district on the paperwork?
Yes, we do. Yes, we
Okay,
have
so
our.
guys, don't even sweat the paperwork. We'll help you. We'll get that all done. And notice I use the term launch meeting. I learned that from District 5 in San Diego a number of years ago. They said, we don't like using the term demonstration meeting. We want to make it clear that we're coming out to launch a new club. That's the purpose of the meeting. And so that's why we call it a launch meeting. And I love that. I thought, hey, that's great. So that's why I call it a launch meeting. Okay. So let's come back to area and division directors, or area directors. Sorry. Your objective this year is to ensure that a new club is chartered in your area. Like we said, we're chartering one new club per area. But guys, we're not asking you to personally charter the club. Let me say that again, because this is important. We're asking you to ensure that a club is chartered in your area, but we're not asking you to personally charter the club. But we are going to ask you for three things. We're going to ask you first about a lead. And at the end of this presentation, for those of you that are present, your district director is going to ask you a date by which you're going to provide the lead. We're not asking you the lead today, but we're going to ask you a date by which you're going to promise to provide that lead. And then if those of you that are missing this in person live, she's going to follow up with all the area directors, so they're not off the hook. We're going to ask you for a lead, and the lead has to resolve into an actual club. So if you give us a lead and it doesn't quite work out, and this is the point Angela, I had asked her to remind me about, we're going to come back to you and ask you for another lead. So we're going to keep doing this until we have that lead. And honestly, we're going to go through this, the ideas for coming up with a lead during this presentation. And Letitia, going to your comment earlier about time, I honestly believe that with 2 hours of brainstorming, you're going to have a lead. And I don't mean 2 hours all at once. I'm talking about 10 minutes with your area council, 5 minutes with a fellow Toastmasters having a conversation. You know, when you have cumulatively spent 2 hours, I promise you're going to have a lead. Nobody's come back to me with a different time. If you come back to me and say, Alfred, it turned out to be, it was 3 hours. Okay, I'll modify the presentation, but I don't think it's going to be outrageous. But we also need a sponsor and mentor from you area directors. And the reason we're asking you for those is because when you visit your clubs, you can see who the people in those clubs that could be those roles could be. All right, so we'll need the three things from you: lead, sponsor, mentor. Now, if you want to be more involved in the process, you're certainly welcome to. If you'd like to be part of the launch team, absolutely, we would welcome that participation, but it's not required. Some of you may be so inspired, you actually want to actually charter the club. You want to be the club sponsor. And personally, I'm okay with that. You'd have to check with your district director, Anita, but I think she would approve that because the timeline I'm talking about is only 1 month. All right. I personally would not like to see you become a new club mentor because that's a much longer, bigger commitment. But if you're so inclined, you want to be the sponsor to the club in your area, that's a possibility. Okay. But we're not requiring it. We're requiring a lead, sponsor, and mentor. Any questions on that before I move on?
No.
Okay, thank you. Letitia, does this make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you think it's doable?
Yes, now that I'm getting more clarity on my role, yes.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
do.
good, good. You know, and that's a great point, Letitia. It's so important to be clear on your role because for so many years, area directors took the monkey on their back that they felt it was their job to make their clubs distinguished. No, it's the club's distinguished. And my joke about that is if we don't have the right focus, when your ship comes in, you might be at the airport. All right. All right. So let's talk about lead development. Now, leads can come from all different places. They can come from world headquarters. Believe it or not, individuals reach out to Toastmasters International World Headquarters and say, I'm so-and-so and I'm in Mississauga and I'd like to have a Toastmasters club. Great. Toastmasters International collects that information, sends it off to the district. All right. Now, any leads that come in from world headquarters, we're not going to count that as a lead from the area director. You guys still need to come up with your own, but they do come in from that direction. You can also talk to current members, talk to your neighbors, talk to your coworkers. You know, in olden days, I'm an older guy. We had these things on paper. You millennials might not be aware of this. You can get them for free from the Auto Club, and they had cities on them and roads. They were called maps. You know, and if you were to get a map and draw dots where all the clubs are in your area, you might immediately see a community or location that is missing a club. You can identify an opportunity that way. You can also look at existing clubs to identify opportunities. For instance, if you have a club, again, this is going to be post-COVID, when we're meeting back in restaurants, if you have a breakfast club, I'll get to you, Louise, in just a second. Thank you for raising your hand. If you have a breakfast club, that same restaurant could have an evening club. And I promise you this, ladies and gentlemen, those two clubs will not compete with each other because the people available in the morning are not available in the evening and vice versa. And that reminds me, I have McDonald's. I'm going to get to them in a second, but I know of a real live example on a 6-lane road when there's a McDonald's on the southbound lanes, and at the same intersection, there's a McDonald's on the northbound lanes. And both of those McDonald's independently are thriving. Why do you think that is?
Because they both hold Toastmaster meetings.
I'll take a guess, Alfred. I'll take
Go
a guess.
ahead. Take a guess.
I'll take a guess, Alfred. It's typical when you're going through different communities that all the hotels, all of the fast food restaurants, support places, government offices are all in the same. There's a synergy when you have everything grouped together. It gives a focal point for people to go to that location.
Okay, but that doesn't explain why two McDonald's at the same intersection would both thrive. The reason is
incoming to work and outgoing from work.
Yeah, well, the reason is people are too lazy to do a U-turn. I know I'm guilty when I'm going looking for a place to eat and I'm driving down the road. I'm looking to the right. I'm only looking there. I may catch something on the other side, but typically I'm only here. And that's how both of those are able to survive. And they're both thriving is because they have different audiences. One has the southbound traffic, one has the northbound traffic. And very rarely does somebody willing to switch over to the other side. It happens, but very rarely. That's how they can thrive. Now, Luis, you had a question. Please, thank you for your patience.
Yeah, a couple of questions, and of course I've lost one of them.
I'm sorry.
Let's start with the restaurant one first, because that one I remember. So I'm curious about you even mentioning holding meetings in restaurants, because I would have thought that there would be too much hustle bustle going on in the restaurant, that it would be disruptive for a meeting, or the people in the restaurant may not appreciate a Toastmaster meeting going on. Are these restaurants you're finding with like a banquet room off the side and they're able to use it?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, because
There's
I'd love to find some, but I don't really know.
okay. There's two different ways I've seen it. Again, one of my advanced club meets at a Sizzler, and they literally have a separate room that is available that's separate from the rest of the restaurant with the normal people, the regular people, I shouldn't say normal, the regular people, where they're just out for dinner that evening. There's a separate room. Many restaurants do have separate rooms that you can use for a Toastmasters meeting. And then this is not as effective, but I've also seen it where the restaurant will section off a portion of the restaurant for the Toastmasters meeting, but it's not as separate. And so there's more spillover, and that doesn't work as well, but it's better than nothing. But yeah, there are many restaurants that do have separate meeting rooms.
I remembered my other question too, and that was the one about the map. If you go look at the Toastmasters, like the District 60 right now, and you look at the map, you will see tons and tons of clubs in downtown area, which is actually Division C. That's the area that I'm in charge of right now. But there's like pockets in the middle of Toronto. I would say probably I would call it mid to North Toronto. And like it's a glut. There's a big pile of hole. But the question is now when you want to go to create new clubs and take leads. So how do you go and get leads outside your area and get the credit for it?
Okay, that's a great question. So should you create a lead that results in a club that is not in your area? And Anita, I don't want to speak for you, so you need to answer in and confirm this. You will have that new club assigned to your area, even though geographically it's not there. And next year, when they reassign or realign the district, they'll put it in the area that it's more geographically close. But if you create a lead that's not in your physical area, you will get credit for it. Now, if you come up with a lead that's in another district, that's not going to work. I would encourage you in that case, let's hand it over to that district, let them build it, but let's try and build clubs within the district. So if you build a club, and Anita, are you supporting that?
Yes, I am indeed.
That
Yes.
definitely happened with sponsors. I had a club I was a sponsor for, and that's exactly what happened. But I'm thinking leads, because we're literally name dropping in a sense, and then hoping that like there's a team goes in and then goes on there and starts forming the club. But I'm just thinking a lead, like we don't even know at that point, at the stage of lead, whether or not they're going to bite. Like we're
Right.
dropping the name and that's it. So that's
Right.
why I asked that question, to kind of make that differentiation.
Yeah, no, that's a great question and a great point. And if it's just the lead aspect of it, let's put it out to the universe. If it's just a lead and it can result in a club, great. But, let's do that. When I was in Angela's position, I had a lead that came to me from World Headquarters, and it was not located in our district. And I gave it to the neighboring district's club growth director. And she was shocked. She goes, I can't believe you gave me a lead. I said, hey, it's not in our district. Of course I would give it to you. I would expect you to do the same for me. What goes around comes around, right? A golden rule, And so, if we can build clubs other places, that's fine. But within District 60, Luis, if you come up with a lead and it's technically not in your physical area, but that club does charter from your idea, and again, you're providing the sponsor and mentor for that, then yes, you will get credit for that as an area director. It will be assigned to your area. It will contribute to your president's distinguished area.
That's correct. That's correct, Alfred. Thanks, Luis, for pointing this out. Yes.
All right, good. Great discussion. Yes.
Okay, I was going to ramble. There's no need.
No, I'm loving the interaction. Thank you. So we can also look at communities over 10,000 people. And I have the McDonald's symbol there because at least in the US, I don't know if this is true in Canada, the McDonald's will not put a restaurant unless there's a community at least 10,000 to support it. So for every for every McDonald's, you can assume there's a Toastmasters club. And I would imagine in Canada, maybe it's even more, they might not have less numbers, Tim Hortons might be the thing, although Tim Hortons, there seems to be one on every corner. So that may not be enough. Maybe for every 3 Tim Hortons, you can have a club. I don't know. But you can identify communities that have over 10,000 people, and corporations that have over 150 people are a great target. And primarily we're looking at white collar workers, not so much the blue collar, because the white collar workers typically are more our target market in that they're looking to improve their communication and leadership skills. Not that blue collar workers can't have that desire, but typically that's not our primary market. Now, if you have a company, let's say they only have 50 people, they probably couldn't support a club by themselves, but what could we still do with that company to charter a club? We could make it an open club or a community club. So, there's open and closed clubs. Closed clubs means you have to be part of a set membership profile in order to qualify to be a member of that club. When I chartered my last corporate club at my company, I was actually international president at the time. It was funny because nobody wanted to be club president when we were electing officers. And if you guys know, if you've been president, it's the easiest job if everybody else is doing their job. So I said, okay, fine, I'll be the president, but I didn't select that initially. So here I was, the international president that was also the charter president of this club. And it was really cool because when the charter got sent to me, the charter was sent to Alfred Herzing and it was signed by Alfred Herzing. That was kind of cool. All right. So anyway, you can have an open club, which means it's not just the members of that company, but you open it to the round. The key is, do they have a conference room, a meeting room that can accommodate at least 20 people? Many smaller businesses don't have a large enough conference room, but if they do, you have your meeting location and you just invited other companies nearby, assuming they're willing to do that. Does that make sense, guys?
To build on
Yes.
that one, the club I was sponsoring last year was corporate originally, and when the pandemic hit, we had to go online. And they had a space that would have been tight for 20 people, to be honest with you. So it actually worked in our favor, and they decided to make it a public club. Still had the corporate sponsorship from the company to pay for their employees to become members, but anyone outside could have also joined. So it can work, making that switch, but.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing the story. Wonderful. So here are other club opportunities. The last time I was in Canada, I actually did visit a club in your district, and it was meeting in the library. It had a public room in the library. So community centers, libraries, churches, schools and institutions, all of those can be new club opportunities there. Here in Southern California, at the peak of its power, we had it was Robert Schuller's church, the Crystal Cathedral. You might have seen it on television. They used to always broadcast it. They had 4 clubs within the church, 4 Toastmaster clubs within the church. So that's another opportunity. And with the schools, there's 2 audiences there. A lot of times people look at having students become members. Personally, I'm not a fan of that myself because I remember my own experience in university. I was working and I really didn't have time for extra activities. Plus you have the constant turnover. Students graduate and then you have to keep replacing them. But still, many districts have university clubs that are successful, but there's another audience there that I think would be amazing to make Toastmasters, and that's the professors. Yeah, those of you that went to university, if you can remember some of your professors and how you wish they had had Toastmasters, right?
I got another question for you. Do the restaurants that you're aware of, do they charge for the meeting space, or do they just expect you to eat?
They typically expect you to eat. Some go so far as to have a minimum per person. Again, it varies by restaurant. I know we had, I don't know if you have the chain up there, but Murray Calendars, one of my advanced clubs met at Murray Calendars. and they had a set menu and it was a set price. And so it was like $25 per person. Some will have a minimum. Most of the time I've seen it where they do expect somebody to order, but they're not having a minimum. Typically the minimums come into play when everybody orders a bowl of soup or something, going, wait a minute, we're tying up all this space. We're not getting any revenue.
Yeah, we do have a Toastmasters club that is a dinner club when they were able to meet in person. And I believe they meet once a month or every other week. And they do have their meal. And as part of the meal, you know, they do have some a Toastmasters meeting as well. You know, it might have been after the meal or during the meal.
Alfred, I visited a club in Edmonton on 50th Street. This was a few years ago, and they couldn't find a central meeting location. They found actually a bowling alley, if you can believe it. And they had a meeting room, a full meeting room in the bowling alley on 50th Street, and it was great. And they would also have, you know, host area events and have bowling afterwards. And it really worked out well. So you can look at sometimes the most unlikely things. Just walk in and say, do you have a meeting room?
I love that, Michael. Thank you for sharing that story. I'd never heard that before, but it makes perfect sense. And that's a great, great story. So there's another one. I won't add it to my list, but we'll add bowling alleys there. Yeah, I'm a comic at heart, so it reminds me of a joke. It's not an original, so it's a good one. How do you know it's quiet in a bowling alley? You can hear a pin drop.
Oh.
All right, moving on. So let's have a quick brainstorm session. We won't go full 5 minutes, but I'd like each of you to think about where could we build a new club in your area? And if you're not a district leader, just, you know, where do you have some ideas of where we could build a club? So let's just take a couple minutes and do that quickly.
Yeah, I did look at our district clubs already, and over 10% of our clubs, like 15 of the 122 clubs, are bank-based clubs. So I think, you know, if we know people in our areas that are Toastmasters that work in the bank, maybe they can give us a lead in chartering a club in their location if they don't have one already.
Okay, thank you. So again, let's just brainstorm here for a minute.
The other thing I think that we can do, like most of us, I would say more than 80% of the deck members, we all have a full-time job. How about we try to look where we work in our organization, maybe interest them to have a Toastmasters club, give it a try, and it doesn't harm.
Yeah.
I remember years ago I had a drop-in center reach out to me and wanted to get a club started, and it never came to fruition despite much follow-up. So sometimes you get great ideas, but then it's getting to the right person to get it going. But I'll name it again. I haven't been to them for a long time now, but Parkdale has a drop-in center, and maybe it's worth taking a look at. The members are people that have been dealing with mental illness and stuff like that. I think that's going to be where your challenge lies, is whether they can afford to join. But if there was an opportunity to create the club, I bet you the members would benefit hugely. So
good. And sometimes you don't know, maybe government funds are available for development of those people. So you never know till you ask. So the Parkdale Drop-In Center is one idea from Louise. What other ideas did anybody come up with?
KMH is also let's say Center for Mental, what does it stand for? Center of Mental Health Addiction or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, KMH is another place. There's lots of, but I'm thinking in that context, the staff as well, they might be benefiting from it. It's huge facility. I don't know anybody in there, but it probably would be something. I don't know if they have a club or not, but both patients or staff.
Okay, any other
How
ideas?
about Loblaw supermarkets here in Toronto, they put on cooking workshops. So they already have like a separate meeting room. And so why not look at using those separate meeting rooms to create Toastmasters clubs? I know for a fact that the Rotary clubs, a lot of them use those rooms. And the only reason I know this is because I was asked to speak at one of those clubs. But they're beautiful rooms, closed off, and most of them do have high-tech equipment.
Beautiful. Okay, great. Excellent. Excellent. Other ideas?
Yeah, Paula mentioned on the chat that, professional associations, such as accountant associations and project management associations are a couple of those associations that we currently have in our district. So there may be more that we can explore.
That's great. That's great. I love it. I love it. Great.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes. So my question is, if I'm the area director of a specific area in Toronto, but my network is spread in different places in the city. So and I know that my network would be interested to be part of a Toastmaster clubs. Then does that mean that the new club has to be created in the area where I'm part of, or can it be created somewhere else?
Okay. Yeah, I thought we had already answered that, but I'm happy to readdress it because clearly we did not properly answer it. Yes, wherever you charter that club, Leticia, you will get credit for it as long as it's in the district. If it's out of District 60, we'll have to, that won't work.
Okay. Okay, that clarifies. If it's in the district, then it's fine. And yeah, so it doesn't have to be the area where I'm. That's...
Right. If your network is in another part of the district and you really have a lead there and you can get the sponsor and mentor and, because we still need those three things, not four, those three things, then absolutely that will do that. Alfie, you had a question?
I had a question about what's your opinion on hybrid clubs where they meet online as well as in person? Because some of the clubs will have high-tech equipment available, like Elton mentioned at Loveloss. Would those be a good idea to start, or something more in person should be the focus?
You did something very dangerous. You asked for my opinion. And when you ask for my opinion, you will always get the truth. I think in general, hybrid clubs are going to be a disaster. I think there are certain circumstances, and corporate is one of the exceptions, where the technology is there so that it could actually work. But in most situations, I think the hybrid is not going to be viable long-term. First, you have to have the network connectivity to support it. You can't do a hybrid meeting tethered off your phone. You're also going to have a projector, a screen. You're going to have cameras, sound equipment. I mean, there's so much additional equipment. And for me personally, I don't like the idea of having that big screen beside me and when I'm in the front of the room speaking, because now that screen is competing for the face, the attention of me as a speaker. So in general, I'm not in favor of hybrid clubs. However, in certain corporate and university environments where they really have the technology to make it work seamless, I think that's great. Because in general, otherwise, and guys, feel free to disagree with me. Give me your opinion, because it's just my opinion. I can't see any way that those online participants could be seen as equal to those that are in the room. That's just my opinion. Luis.
I'll just put a comment out there, and I think this was a bit of a mistake that was communicated. I've wondered about that too, and but in my club, for example, we have members that were living in Toronto and they moved during COVID, and so how do you say no, you can't join? So I guess the way I'm looking at it is, if we go hybrid, which I think is what my own club is considering doing when the time comes, is going hybrid. And I'm hoping that people are going to see for themselves that this maybe isn't as viable as we thought it would be. And you know, there is an option to transition your membership to something close to your own area. It is just how do you do it, like at this point? And
Yeah.
we've also been attracting new members during a time when we are in lockdown. So it is actually a way to bring in new people. It's just knowing where to go after. So
Right. In my own club, my community club, I'm the key contact. Excuse me. And every guest that has joined during COVID, I have made it crystal clear to them that currently we're online, but once we get beyond this, and we will, we're going to be meeting back in person. And this is the location that we meet at. So they know before they join that eventually we will be back in person and the location is. And for most of the people that are joining my community club, that location physically is close enough that it will work for them. If somebody is remote, or the example you gave, Louise, where somebody moved physically away, then they can still transfer their dues to another club that is meeting in person. But I personally would encourage in-person meetings versus online, because what I have seen now, going online was absolutely the right thing to do during COVID. And for those of us that are still dealing with it, you know, we're still meeting online, and that's fine. But eventually we'll be beyond that. And then it's going to be important that those people have that in-person experience, because to me, that is the key, the premier experience.
I have another idea, Alfred, and maybe this is where Elton, Andrew Mertens, and Joanne Van Zugen, who's joined us, would know. There's always a possibility to start an advanced club. And I started an advanced club in District 86. We saw a need, all of a sudden there was a critical mass in the growth of District 86 and downtown Mississauga in particular, but there were no advanced clubs in a particular area. So possibly an advanced club is the way to look as well.
An advanced club is absolutely a possibility. I just want to make sure that there's a real need. I find too often, and I had one of my mentees doing this last year, where they were trying to come up with new club leads, and they kept coming up with advanced leads. And pretty soon you're getting to pretty specialized audience. And you really wonder, is the need really there?
Yeah, and that's why I asked, you know, Elton, Joanne, and Andrew would know this. And
you know,
we got it going, but it took a lot of work to see, is there a need? Meaning approaching all the existing club, open community and corporate clubs. Do you have people that wish to take it to the next level? So you're right.
Yeah. So there's a comment, and from Joanne says she lives in a restaurant-rich club devoid area in Leslieville, and she'll be interested in the publicity ideas. So is there something that in that type of environment, that some publicity that we can bring forth? Maybe Elton, you know, posting some posters in restaurants or in an area that has that type of thing?
Yeah, that's it, Angela, because you don't want to do the publicity within the organization. We're looking for new people to join. So it's putting out flyers in physicals in supermarkets, in the restaurant itself, if they would allow that, and there's an appropriate person. I mean, just even in the window, right? There's going to be a new Toastmasters club forming here, and come Tuesday night to check it out. You know, you can have it right there at the restaurant, and the restaurant should buy into that, because it's going to bring additional people, additional revenue to the restaurant. You can use online media too, social media. There's a number of ways to do it. In the old times, of course, there was the newspaper, but that really doesn't work today. But even the online versions of newspapers sometimes have community notices, and you can put it out there. Another is a meetup, you know, using those types of things, you can advertise it there. So there's a lot of different ways to advertise a community club. Great idea, though.
I look at Alfred, my brother-in-law owns 2 radio stations in Belleville, and they have a community page, which is free to advertise on. So we have 2 Belleville clubs. So I threw it out to the 2 Belleville clubs and gave them the person that takes care of all this community page stuff at the radio station.
But Michael, with the Belleville, it's not in our district, or will they be able to broadcast in Toronto? Or
I thought when I read the entry page to District 60, east through to Belleville.
No, no longer with the
No.
split. Yeah, right now, District 60, starting this term, it's only in Toronto, south of Lawrence.
Okay,
So-
I probably read District 60 a couple of weeks ago and hadn't changed. Anyways,
You're likely looking at community radio too, which we're not have a reach that comes as far, but if you get community radio stations, there are some in Toronto, there's 2 at least, or maybe 3. Maybe could use the community radio stations, and Belleville would be another district at this
no,
point.
I'm talking about their web pages.
Oh, okay, well, the web pages maybe too, but also, again, Toronto, I know, there's Snap to the make,
Mhm.
that newspaper goes out, they might do it for free, and if you're, it's not gonna work for District 60, but if you're outside of District 60 around Kingston, Belleville, there's, like, I know Kingston this week is free to advertise in.
We're just brainstorming, so that's all I'm throwing
Yeah,
out.
oh no,
Yeah,
I'm throwing out some
exactly.
ideas to add to yours.
Exactly.
I'm not ruling yours out, I'm just adding to it.
Right,
Or the
right.
free newspaper spreads that can put stuff out as well. Again, I don't know
Beautiful.
what Toronto has, I wish I knew.
Yeah. All right. Great stuff. This is awesome. So Leticia, you're getting good ideas on brainstorming where you might be able to come up with club leads.
Absolutely. I
Okay.
really think using my network is a great idea.
Okay, beautiful. All right, so let's talk about club sponsor. What do you think the job is of the club sponsor?
To get the meeting information, contacts, demonstrate kind of roles, just the basic beginning
Okay.
parts of how to start.
Right. I mean, to put it more simply, because you're right on with all of the details, it's to get the club chartered. That's the job of the club sponsor, to get the club chartered. Okay. So they will contact the new club lead if it's appropriate. In other words, maybe they don't have enough experience because, excuse me, I've seen a member that joined my club. This guy was great. He at one point said, I just can't wait for Tuesday nights. I love our Toastmasters club. I went, wow, this guy is great. He would be a great new club sponsor because he have the energy and the excitement for the program. But he may not have, as a new member, to have the background to be reaching out to the club lead. So we would have somebody in Angela's team, a past leader, or somebody that really knows the program that would contact. But if the sponsor is that person, they would do it. The sponsor will act as the contact for the launch meeting. They will recruit the launch team. They will work with Angela and the club extension chair on that, but they will recruit their launch team. They will conduct the launch meeting and then make sure that the club elects the officers and does all the details about how frequently is the club going to meet. You fill out all the paperwork, what time of day, how is it an open club? Is it a corporate club? And make sure that all the charter fees and dues are submitted. And then finally, the final duty for the club sponsor is to plan a charter presentation ceremony. And I would encourage you to invite your district director to that. If she's not available, then the club growth director or even the area director, a local official. Just it's nice to have some representative from Toastmasters International at that ceremony because it is such a great thing to have a new club chartered. And Elton, as the publicity, we want to make sure, and Angela's going to be pushing this as well. When we have these new clubs chartered, we want to really publicize the person that provided the lead, the sponsor, the mentor, the fact that there's this new club, and really give it the red carpet treatment and make sure that everybody sees this and gets excited about it. Because the more publicity we put around new clubs, it's going to create that interest. And other people are going to say, hey, I'd like to see my name listed in the newsletter. Any questions about the club sponsor position, the role?
I'll just say it's a rewarding position to have.
It is.
I did it, and what I did, it took time again because of COVID, but the thing is you can capitalize on the opportunity as well and use things like the club, all the modules that are from Club Success Plan or whatever. You know, there's 10 modules on how to improve public speaking. You can deliver those to the club. There's leadership modules. You can also deliver them if you need more things as time. And it's a way to really hype up the energy in the room because the group I was working with, they were really keen on grabbing guests, but they weren't always getting the guests to stay. As soon as I started putting these modules in that started teaching them about different components of public speaking or the leadership side, that's when people started saying, hey, this actually might be something for me. And then they'd come back and eventually joined the charter team, and that was it. So
Good,
that's another
good.
idea that works.
Well-
And they're free, right?
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to charter in one meeting. And so all of those new members are going to be participating in the program, and that's how we're going to keep them engaged. All right. So what's the job of the new club mentor? Alfie, go ahead.
Basically to show up to each meeting, help the new Toastmasters figure out how to run a meeting, demonstrate a lot of the roles, features and pathways, things like that.
Exactly. Thank you, Alfie. I put it as setting the club on the right course, right? Technically, the requirement is 6 months. Personally, I ask all my new club mentors to stay a minimum of 12 months with the club so they have a full year cycle. But again, the minimum is 6 months. I've heard others ask for 18 months, whatever. But you need to make sure that the club officers understand their duties. Each officer has a specific role to play in the club, and they need to understand those roles. You need to familiarize the club officers and the members with the Toastmasters education program. I'm trying to think that it's a new program. It has a weird name. Do you guys know what it's called? I'm trying to remember what that is.
Pathways?
Pathways, that's it. Pathways. Okay. We need to familiarize them with pathways. We don't mention competent communicators, the basic manual, all those other things. No, none of that exists anymore. It's only pathways and levels. All right. It's also important that the mentor discusses the Toastmasters standards of excellence, as I call them. I was really shocked when I first joined Toastmasters that we are a communication organization, yet we had all these unwritten rules. And eventually a lot of these unwritten rules were actually put in writing and became part of the Toastmasters promise. But we do have these standards of excellence in Toastmasters that is very important that the club mentor imparts to the new club. And I'm going to give you one, and then I'm going to ask for you guys to give me some input, please. One of them is in Toastmasters. This again is one of our standards of excellence, that all meetings start and end on time,
On
right?
time.
On time. What's another standard of excellence in Toastmasters?
Appreciate the presence of the member, not to be very critical.
Okay, recognition, right? And supportive feedback.
Yeah.
Good.
Paying the dues on time.
Paying dues on time. All right. Good. I love it. What's another standard of excellence?
Offer to mentor.
And make sure that every person has a mentor, right? How about a few? Let me give you a few more. I'm not trying to stump you guys, and you might not share all of these, but wouldn't you agree? One of our standards is every speech is a project speech, right?
Yes.
And evaluations are positive in tone, as was already mentioned by Indrani, and also offer at least 1 or 2 suggestions for improvement. And here's the key. You have to personalize your language. And that key point is so important to me. I want to share a quick story with you. I was visiting the district conference for District 33 in beautiful downtown Bakersfield. Now, if you've never been to Bakersfield, don't worry, you're not missing much, okay? It's a farming community in the central California, in the Central Valley. But they were having the district evaluation contest. So these are supposedly the best of evaluators in the district. And we had one evaluator stood up and said, your speech lacked gestures. A declarative statement stated as fact. The very next evaluator said, your speech lacked gestures. No, did I say lacked? The next one said the exact opposite. Your speech had great gestures. Again, a declarative statement stated as fact in direct opposition. And this is why we must always personalize our language, because they both could have been right. The person that saw great gesture was sitting up front and they could see all of the gestures for the speaker, but all of those gestures very low on the body. And so the other evaluator was back in the room and didn't see a single one of them. So that's why this is always a key point I make in my evaluations. And when I'm general evaluator, I emphasize this with the evaluators. We need to personalize our language. I felt, I saw, I thought. I think your next speech would be better if, because at the end of the day, even as a past international president, my evaluation is just my opinion. And there could be others in the audience that have a completely different opinion. So again, personalizing your language. Another standard of excellence for my clubs is how we conduct table topics. Now, in my clubs, we don't have time for every single person to do table topics. And in my clubs also, we never invite guests to do table topics. Why? Many people have a fear of public speaking, and when you ask them to participate, you're putting them on the spot. And we want them just to sit back and relax and enjoy. And typically, because not everybody in the club gets to do a table topic, when you give it to a guest, you're denying an existing member that paid their dues the opportunity to grow in our program. Plus, in my club, we vote for best table topics. And in clubs that vote for best table topics, when they have guests participate, typically they make sure the guest wins. Why? They want them to have a positive experience. So now you've denied an existing member the opportunity to participate. You denied an other member who probably did the better table topic, but they don't get the reward. And I heard this from a district director when I did a presidential visit. She said, you know, Alfred, I had that exact same situation happen to me. And when I won best table topics as their guest, I said, if I'm already the best, I don't need this club. And I joined another club. So some clubs invite guests and that's fine. But again, like I said, in my club, we only don't have time for everybody. So the standard of excellence in how we conduct table topics is that we ask the question first and then pick somebody to answer. Because if I say, okay, this question's for Leticia, everybody's going to take a little mental vacation. We're going to sit back and we're going to wait for see how Leticia answers the question. And halfway through her response, you're going to think, okay, now I know what I would have said. But if I ask the question first and then pick somebody, I'm forcing everybody to go through the mental exercise. What if he picks me? What if he picks me? What am I going to say? And that's the way I conduct the table topics. So those are what I call my standards of excellence. Yes, Louise.
Just very interesting you say that, because I've certainly heard a lot about offering the table topics choice to guests, and I find it very interesting. The other thing, when I first joined Toastmasters, what we used table topics for was for the people that don't have a role, gives them an opportunity to speak. But I have seen it very much so in Toronto area, especially. It seems to be offered to everybody. So you've given an interesting take on that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, again, it's just my opinion. Some clubs do invite guests and they're successful in that. But like I said, typically when they've done that, they've prevented another member from participating, and they typically give the award of best table topics to that individual. And typically, let's be honest, typically the guest was not the best table topic. So they're now not giving proper recognition to another member that deserved it. And a lot of people have a fear of public speaking. And when you ask them, even if you ask nicely, and even if you say, look, you don't have to do it, the truth of the matter is you put them on the spot. And I will tell you point blank, my wife is so shy. If you did that to her, she would leave after the meeting and never come back to the club. But then again, whatever works for them. All right. So we talk about the Toastmasters standards, and then you need to make sure that the club begins recruiting and retaining members. The biggest mistake new clubs make is they think, oh, we got up to our 20 and we don't need to do anything more. We can just sit back and relax. No, you need to immediately start recruiting new members, because even with the charter group, some people are going to stop participating, they will drop out, and you need to really make sure there. I mentioned 20. Let's quickly address that. 20 is the minimum number required to charter. 3 of them can be dual members, meaning they're already existing Toastmasters, but 17 must be brand new. Why do you think 20 is the magic number? Go ahead, unmute. This is the audience participation portion. Why do you think 20 is the number?
Because it would cover all of the club officers while having enough people left over to participate in different roles in the meeting.
Right, Alfie. If you look at the typical club meeting, again, your actual club may vary. It's typically 13 to 15 rules in a club meeting. And so to avoid doubling and tripling up, you want to have, because obviously not everybody can attend every meeting. With 20 members, you're usually going to have at least 13 that are there. I'm sure you guys have all seen a club like this. I'm not saying it's your club, but you have somebody that stands up and they do a prayer. Then they sit down, they're called for table topics, they speak and they evaluate the other speaker. You have a guest that attends the meeting and you ask them at the end, do you want to join? They're going to go, oh no, this is too much work. I can't do that much. But when you have a larger club, you can spread out the workload. And when I was on the board, we surveyed our members, and the number one thing our members want is an audience when they speak. So it's very discouraging to show up and you only have 7 people there at the club meeting. You want to have a good sized group to hear that speech. So that's where 20 comes from. Leticia.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Alfred. That was the question of the $1 million for me that I didn't get. I didn't know the answer. So this solved a mystery for me. Thank you.
Good. Does it make sense now?
Yeah, totally. Now
Okay.
I can tell to my friends because they asked me why 20 members and I said, I don't know.
Okay, no, that's a great question. And it's a very valid question that they would ask that. Why 20? Why is that the magic number? And now you know. All right. So the truth of the matter is each new club can have 2 club sponsors and 2 club mentors, and the club sponsor can also be the club mentor. Typically, when I charter a club and I personally do it, I'm also the sponsor. I'm also the mentor. I take on both of those roles. The thing is, as far as having 2, if you can't have a sponsor, I mean, a mentor that's going to be attending the meetings regularly, then it might be a good idea to have a second. But typically, I'd recommend you only have 1. Why? We're going to be chartering 27 new clubs. And it reminds me of what my friend Johnny Uwe told me. When he was district director, he's was district director of District 75 in the Philippines. And he went on, by the way, to become international president. And I served with him on the board. Great gentleman. And Johnny told me, he said, Alfred, we chartered 75 new clubs this year. Now it was an easy number to remember. District 75 new clubs. It was a new record shared with District 51 that year for the most number of clubs in 1 year. That's since been broken, by the way. But he said, you know what the number one problem is with chartering 75 new clubs? Finding 75 qualified new club mentors. So chartering 27 clubs for District 60, which is going to happen, it's definitely doable. Your challenge will be to find 27 qualified mentors. So although you can have 2, unless there's a real good reason, I would recommend just 1. Plus, I jokingly say when you have 2 people, you have 2 opinions. And when I have a second mentor with me in the club and they disagree with me, well, obviously they're wrong.
Alfred, can I add to that?
Yes, please.
I'm on my 3rd club mentorship. My
Oh,
first,
bless you, Michael.
it's to what Louise said, like sponsoring, it's such a rewarding position, so rewarding. And my first 2, I was on my own. The second, or my 3rd one, I am now in with a very capable person. And the biggest challenge is to make sure we're not tripping over each other. So we have extra communication outside. So what are we going to do first? I said, well, we get together with the club president and the club VP Ed and go through all the requirements before we start our mentorship with the president of DTM to outline, this is our objectives. Now we're halfway through our mentorship, given just 6 months, but we're going to stay on longer, of course.
Right.
And then we're going to do with the vice president again, review the list and say, are we achieving what we said we do, and what are we missing?
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Michael. And you said something, and it's been said earlier. I want to emphasize it because it is so true. Chartering a new club is exciting. It's fun. It's an amazing experience. It's one of the most fun things you can do. Having been an area director that put on a speech contest, you know, and a district conference, those are rewarding experiences as well. But the difference is with a new club, you have something that lives beyond the event. You create something that theoretically could live beyond you. You're creating a legacy. I mean, look at club number 1. Dr. Smedley's chartered that club and it's still in existence. So it's so much fun. It's a blast being a part of launching a new club. And I'm glad you guys have already mentioned that because I can't overemphasize that. So continuing with the steps to charter the club, what we're going to do is we're going to contact the new club lead, and that person should be the top person in the organization. If it's a company, it would be the CEO or president of the company. If it's a field office, the top person in that field office. If it's a community, the top person in that community, the mayor or whoever is appropriate, okay? And here is my golden sentence. And again, you don't have to write this down because you're going to get this presentation, those that request it. Well, hopefully you have all the registrations so you guys can just send it out, right, Angela?
Yes, we do have that.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Anita. So my golden sentence is, I'd like to have a short meeting with you to discuss the benefits of having a Toastmasters program in your organization. And the key words there I've bolded, all caps, short. If you ask for an hour with these people, they're too busy. They won't give you an hour. But a short meeting, and what is short? It depends on them. It might be 5 minutes, it might be 10 minutes, but I wouldn't want to do less than 5 minutes. But a 5 is plenty adequate to meet with them and gain their buy-in. And the benefits. Now, what if they say, no, thank you, I'm not interested? What is your response?
Thank you for your time. And if you change your mind, here's my contact information.
Beautiful, Alfie. Thank you very much. Yeah, here's my contact if you change your mind, which they're not. I personally leave that out, but just thank you for your time and have a great day. Hang up. And I had a situation like that happen when I was doing a presidential visit in Kansas, District 22. They had me drive an hour out of town to do a radio station interview. And it was a worthwhile time because that radio station broadcasted, reached millions of people. So we were reaching a large audience of potential Toastmasters. But we had some time when we got into town prior to the interview. And I said, let's see if we can't develop a new club lead for you. So this is a Friday morning. We go to the Chamber of Commerce. We identified the largest employer in town. We go to the plant. And I came into the front desk. I said, hello, my name is Alfred Herzing. I'm the president of Toastmasters International Worldwide. I'm in town to do a radio interview. And I thought I'd just stop by to see if I could meet with the senior executive of the plant in case to see if they might be interested in the Toastmasters program here. And the receptionist said, well, the top person is the plant manager. The top person is off today because it's Friday, but I'll have our HR manager come out. And so the HR manager came out. I did the same spiel with him. He said, well, no, thank you. We're not interested. I said, thank you very much. And we left. And I told my team that I left with, I said, that person is an idiot. And I know that's a strong word, but here's the thing. If you have somebody that is willing to share the benefits and you're not willing to at least hear them out, that person is stupid, in my opinion. That is not a good business leader. If they hear the benefits and say, you know, it sounds interesting, but it's really not for us. Okay, that's fine. At least you heard us out, but not to even be open to it. Fine. So there's a famous saying in sales, when a prospect says no, you say one word, next. And there's so many opportunities for us around your district. There's an abundance. Again, in Founders District, we're founder Toastmasters was started. Many years ago, our district director there said, Alfred, where Toastmasters started, we're saturated. There's no more opportunities for clubs. And I said, Jeffrey, one new club per McDonald's. How many McDonald's do you have in the district? And he went, oh my gosh, we have so much opportunity. So it's about opening your mind and seeing the possibility. If somebody says no, no problem. Next, we're going to find somebody that is smart enough to at least hear us out. All
I'd
right.
like to add one more thing, Alfred. All of us, virtually all of us, have had to go through a career change through our career. And what's one of the things that when you go to any kind of consulting group helping you find a new job is reach out to the people you know. And so in this case, if you know people that are a manager or a team leader, you can reach out to them. So you'd expand, you'd use the same networking advice you'd use when you're doing a career change.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. So let's say he says, yeah, sure, I'll agree to have a short meeting with you. So this is what we discussed in the pre-meeting. First of all, we discussed the benefits of Toastmasters, what's in it for the organization. We're going to set a date for a launch meeting. I'm going to go into more details on this. We go no more than 2 weeks out. Why? There's never a perfect date for a meeting. Always there's going to be somebody that's available. But today it is August 15th, right? Yep. If I said, we're going to have a launch meeting on September 10th, you're going to think, oh man, that's so far out. You know, I'll worry about that next month. I'm not even thinking about that far out. But when it's within 2 weeks, okay, now it needs to get on the calendar right now. It could be as short as a week from now. I wouldn't recommend less than a week because you want to have enough time for publicity to be done for the meeting. I require a minimum of 30 people at that launch meeting, or we will not have the launch team waste our time to come out. Why do I require 30 people at the launch meeting?
So at least 15 will show up. So
No, good try.
Only a portion of them will become members.
We, as was mentioned in my introduction, I launch in one meeting, right? So if I have 30 people there, we're probably going to get 20 that are going to be willing to join. So that's why I want 30 people there, so I can get 20 to join. All right. And in this so we're just letting them know, in order for us to do this launch meeting, which we're scheduling within a week or two, we're going to require a minimum of 30 people. And typically the senior executive will have you coordinate with somebody on his staff to get the publicity out within the company and handle the RSVPs. The sponsor of the club will also be involved in receiving those CCs or those RSVPs, so they know what you're expecting. Again, if you don't have the 30, we're going to reschedule it. And if we can't find 30, then we're not going to move forward. And then I asked them for a quote of support from Toastmasters. And again, I'll provide this for you later in the presentation. And then you also want to discuss what dues the organization is going to pay and what will the members are going to pay. And you need to know that number, what it's going to cost each individual that joins this club at the launch meeting. Because when we close the sale, we have to tell them, here's what the price is for you to become a member and move forward. So going into more detail on those points, discussing the benefits of Toastmasters. When I've met with executives, I've always started with, have you ever been to a business meeting that didn't start and end on time? And who hasn't, right? So of course the executive says, absolutely, it's thrown my whole schedule off. Toastmasters can help you with that. Have you ever had a speaker that you could tell they knew their material, but they just weren't able to convey the information to you? Oh yeah, it's very frustrating. Well, Toastmasters can help you with that. Would you like a performance appraisal technique that reinforces the good things your good employees are doing, yet still offers some suggestions where they might still improve? Oh yeah, that would be great to help us retain good employees. Toastmasters can help you with that. And finally, we help them build impromptu speaking skills, which is very helpful. So when you ask somebody on the hall, what's the status of the project, you know, they aren't bumbling and stepping over themselves. And it usually by time I've completed those few items, the person is already on board. Many times when I meet with the executives, they already know about Toastmasters. They used to say Toastmasters is the best kept secret. I no longer agree with that. I don't ever say that. Over 5 million people have participated in the Toastmasters program over the years. And pretty much there's a lot of people that know somebody or they personally have been through the program. Yeah, can you go to parts of the world or ask somebody in a town, have you heard of Toastmasters? Of course, there'll be people that haven't heard of it, but it is very well known. I also like to include this line that Toastmasters help your employees improve their communication skills as they talk with your management team, their peers, and most importantly, your customers. So I said we set the launch date for no more than 2 weeks out, and I explained why that is. We want a number of 30 people. And this was a new idea. One of my mentees this last year was a club growth director that when they got the RSVPs for the meeting, he would send them the application prior to the meeting, just so they would have it ahead of time. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? He chartered 6 clubs having 20 applications for 6 clubs before they even had the launch meeting conducted. So just an idea for you, Angela, that when you or with a sponsor, when you have the launch meeting, you can send the application ahead of time and you get people that'll send it back in already. They've already signed up before you've even done the meeting. That's great. All right, so the statement of support. Employees are busy. Many are working through lunch. They're not looking for extracurricular activities. They want to know if they're going to do this. This is something that the company sees as valuable. So here's my statement of support, okay? The skills you learn in Toastmasters will help you in your personal life and your career here at XYZ Corporation. I encourage you to check it out. Signed, the big boss. Now, if you were to get an email with that quote from the executive, the top executive of your company, and then that was followed by, there's going to be a launch meeting conducted next Tuesday at 12 p.m. in the Ontario conference room, what kind of turnout do you think you're going to get?
Big.
Yeah, you're going to get a big turnout, okay? On the fees, you have to decide what's going to be paid by the organization. If the charter fee is not paid by the organization, and there's no obligation that they have to, then that has to be divided by 20 and you need to add it to the member's cost. You also need to collect 6 months dues, which is the normal thing. Plus, this is why I highlighted, plus the prorated portion. This is the biggest mistake that is made in chartering corporate clubs, especially, but I do this in community clubs as well. It's all psychological. If you collect, and I do this with brand new members too, if they're joining in August, even July, just prior to the dues renewal period, I'm going to collect the next semi period with them initially. Why? Because the initial cost to join, maybe it costs them $130 to join when they're paying the new member fee and any club dues, and they're going to have $130 in their mind. And then when you come back for renewal, and let's say it's $45 plus $1 club fee. Of course, you have to translate this to Canadian, but let's say it's $51 US. They had in their mind $130. Now it's only $51 to renew. They're going to go, wow, this is a bargain. This is great. I'm liking this. But instead, what if you ask them for $70 initially, and just 3 weeks later, you're coming back and asking for another $40 or $50. No, it's 45. Let's say another 51. They're going to go, wait a minute, I just gave you 70. Now you want another 51. What's the deal here? And it leaves a bad taste in their mouth. Okay. Some companies will want to pay all of their costs. I recommend in those cases that they still have the individual members pay at least $1 per month club dues, because then they have some skin in the game. If the company pays for everything, there's not much incentive for them to participate. All right. But you have to know this cost before you're going in to do the launch meeting. Luis, you have a question?
Yeah, I just have a couple points. First of all, I'm really glad you said that about the fees and stuff. I see this with new members coming into clubs. You know, you have a guest come to the club, and we don't always, like, always kind of like, don't want to be pushy, right? So they don't put out the member application. Then when you come to cost, they might be just that a month before clubs dues are due, and they'll be going and say, oh yeah, it's only this prorated amount. And then all of a sudden, wallop, the next month comes along and bang, they're getting it right square between the eyes, and
Yep.
they turn around and leave, or they only join for 1 month and then they leave. And so the same principle applies not only just in the chartering of a new club, but it also very much applies in just getting new members into individual clubs to
Exactly.
retain your members. It's critical. So I'm glad you said it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for reinforcing it. And again, I'm a club treasurer. I do that the same thing when I'm doing that. Alfie, you had a quick question or comment?
Question. So after we send the first initial email with the charter application, do you think it would be a good idea to send also the membership application for people who potentially want to join with that RSVP that the president would send up?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. When you RSVP, you're sending the membership application, the charter membership application with that. Yeah, with that RSVP, not the charter paperwork, not that $135 or whatever it is these days. I think it's 135, right, Angela?
125 US.
125 US. Okay, sorry. I converted to Canadian already. All right. All right. So let's move on to the launch meeting itself. You need a team to conduct it. What's the minimum number of people you need to do a launch meeting?
Officially, they say 3, but I've always wondered how that works.
I think, Alfred, from your example, 1.
Exactly. Thank you, Angela. She was listening to my introduction. You can do it with one person. I don't recommend it, but it can be done. All right. And actually, going back to contests, putting on a launch team takes less people than putting on a speech contest. And like I said earlier, you have something that lives beyond the event. So you need a Toastmaster and a closer. They may or may not be the same person. The closer is the one that at the end of the meeting is going to ask that key question: who's ready to join, right? And the demonstration portion of a launch meeting should be no more than half an hour. You want to allow the other half hour for the 1 hour meeting to answer questions, help fill out the paperwork and answer questions, all right? We want a table topics master. Speaker, do we have the district champion of the international speech contest come and be a speaker at a launch meeting?
No,
Why not?
because some
Intimidated.
people might feel intimidated.
Exactly.
Yes.
They're going to go, I can't relate to that person. So you would like somebody that's in level 1 or 2. They're just getting started in their Toastmasters experience. And I recommend that the subject of their speech be how I'm already benefiting by being a member of Toastmasters. On the evaluator, we need an evaluator for the speaker. Do we pick the person that's hypercritical and points out the 20 different things that were wrong with the speech?
No.
No.
No, again, you want somebody that's positive in tone, that reinforces the good things they did, points out 1 or 2 things that they might work on for the next time, and as I mentioned earlier, personalizes their language. We need a timer. You don't need a general evaluator. You don't need a grammarian. You don't need a joke master. You don't need a quiz master. All these different roles that different clubs have, you don't need those in a launch meeting. And the Angela and her team can provide some of these people, but also the sponsor can check with a sponsoring club. If there's a club that is sponsoring this club, you can collect those launch team members from that group. All right. This is an abbreviated Toastmasters meeting. Like I said, we want to leave time to answer questions and collect payment. The closer at the end has to say, you need to explain the benefits of being a charter member. This is a once in a lifetime experience for this club. Once the charter paperwork is submitted, nobody ever again in the history of this club can be a charter member. And charter members will always be revered and treated specially even years later when they return and visit the club. So if this is a once in a lifetime experience, plus all of you are going to start together, you're going to grow together. You'll be amazed how quickly you grow in this program. You're going to have guests come in just a couple months and be in awe of how good you guys are. You're going to grow together. And so you'll also get this chance to establish the culture of the club. That's what you get to do as charter members. So the closer has to ask, who's ready to join? And I recommend having some shills in the audience, people that are ready to say, I'm joining, I'm joining, I'm joining. And you create that energy and enthusiasm. If you're doing this in person, of course, we can collect the credit card information. You might have a situation where it's just going to be checks. Well, then you can collect, you say, and somebody says, Angela says, oh, I didn't bring my check. I'm sorry. And then you can say, well, that's okay. Anita brought her check. I'm sure she'll be able to write your check and you can reimburse her. But we're chartering today. As soon as we have 20, we're submitting that paperwork.
Yeah, I think a lot of clubs now are also using e-transfers. So that's could be a very convenient way of
Right.
getting the payment in.
Beautiful, beautiful. And then you're going to determine the club name, the meeting time, location, frequency. You're going to elect the club officers if they haven't already been pre-selected, if it's a corporate club. And again, like I said earlier on the dues, make sure you add the prorated amount so you're not just collecting 6 months. And we already declared that the district has experts that will help you ensure that the paperwork is done correctly. There are some resources that are available to help you build a Toastmasters club. But that, ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, is how to charter a club in one meeting. It starts with the lead. We contact that lead. We set up a pre-meeting. We have them do publicity. We ensure that 30 people are at that meeting. We do an abbreviated Toastmasters meeting just to give them some flavor. And then we launch after that in one meeting. So today I've described the relationship between establishing new clubs and the Toastmasters and district missions. Hopefully you guys all understand now why building new clubs is the #1 focus for the district. If you're not building, you're dying. And also it's the only thing the district directly controls. As area directors, we made it clear that you're responsible to ensure that a new club is chartered during your term, but you don't have to personally charter the club. We just need the lead, the sponsor, the mentor. We'll take it from there, but you're certainly welcome to participate further. And those of you that are not leaders, not district leaders, but just are interested in chartering a new club, hopefully this still gave you all the steps necessary to charter a club from beginning to end. And again, the district team is there to support you and help you. You're not in this alone. So we're going to now I'm going to turn it over to our district director, and she's going to ask the area directors that are present a date by which they're going to provide a lead. And again, I just want to preface this. I want you to know what's going on in the Toastmasters world already, okay? The following districts have already chartered one new club. District 32, 12, 33, 24, 56, 81, 111, 31, 79, 87, 80, 67, and 76. The following districts have already chartered 2 clubs, District 114 and 116. And District 94, the overachievers, they have already chartered 5 clubs. 5 clubs already. And we would love to charter our clubs by September 30th, because we're going to get triple payments. If it doesn't work out, that's fine. We'll take them anytime, but that would be wonderful. Going back to Leticia's question, wouldn't it be wonderful to charter this new club by September 30th, get the triple payments for the district, be well on our way to Smedley Distinguished District, and now we have 9 months to work with our existing clubs to help them be successful. Last year, just so you know, possibility speaking, COVID was a worldwide phenomenon. It was not just affecting District 60. It was a worldwide phenomenon. Yet last year, District 81 built 31 new clubs. District 94 built 38 new clubs. District 105 built 43 clubs. And again, our overachiever last year was District 98 that built 78 new clubs during COVID. So it's possible, ladies and gentlemen. If I can leave you with that, it is possible. 1 new club per area is achievable. You can do it. I want to see District 60 recognized as a Smedley Distinguished District, because I know you can do it. Madam District Director.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alfred, and to my fellow area and division directors who are on this workshop today. So I will be reaching out to you, and I need that date when you are going to give us a lead. And don't worry, we will take care of that lead. And I'm sure, I'm confident that yes, we can do it. It's not impossible. It's just a matter of focusing on what we want to achieve. Because as a team, as a district, we have a focused vision, we have a shared vision, and it has to be aligned. We are all in this together. We will support each other in achieving that objective of being Smedley. Thank you very much, Alfred, for this amazing workshop. And it has been very, very rewarding and very inspiring, I would say. Thank you very much, Alfred.
You're most welcome. I
you.
love
Thank you,
District
Alfred.
60. I love District 60. I want to see you succeed. If I didn't think you could do it, I wouldn't have wasted my time. You guys can do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now I will ask Andrew Mertens, our Program Quality Director, to say a few words for the closing remarks. All yours, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Madam District Director. And thank you, Alfred. I just want to say thank you for not spending time with your wife in Southern California this morning, but instead coming and joining us and imparting your wisdom, wise words, and being engaging, entertaining, and very informative. I've enjoyed the session. It's our afternoon. I've enjoyed the afternoon spending this with you. And you had some wonderful, wonderful catchphrases, if I may use that term. And I just wanted to almost be like a quiz master a little bit, and let others sort of, I know that everybody's been listening. So let me just say a couple of things here, such as guests join, and if you just finish that sentence, guests join, or members join, people join. They don't join areas, they join
a club.
They join clubs, yes. And excellence is the equivalent of
Distinguished.
Distinguished, yes. If you hear no, you say
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
For your time.
next, yes. And 80%, what's the significance of 80%?
80% of your time and effort into building clubs.
80-20 effort.
80-20.
Very, very good. 20%, yes. 2 hours.
Brainstorming, find a lead.
Short but
Nietzsche, you were listening. You were listening.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, what's 1 month then?
To charter.
Charter a club.
Sponsor.
Sponsor.
What we are 1 month from finding the lead, preparing, and then launching.
The launch
And
meeting.
within that 1 month, 2 weeks represents
Launch meeting.
exactly 2 weeks from meeting with the lead, and 30, and we'll finish off with this one. 30 is
the minimum number we want.
30 attendees.
excellent. So thank you very much for everybody's participation, the area directors, division directors, and the members who are just interested in finding out how to create new clubs. Alfie, wonderful interaction there. Joanne, thank you for joining. I saw you chatting away there, answering those questions very succinctly, and I saw Ruben join there as well. So thank you for being with us. Thank you again, Alfred. Very much appreciate you spending the time. And as you said, similar in the beginning, aim higher, achieve higher. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you all for spending time.
Alfred.
Thank you for spending part of your Sunday with me. I enjoyed
Thank you
it.
very much.
Thank you.
It's great.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.